something about myself. Mike Leone. I'm not playing pickleball today, because I have to be here. Not really. I played this morning. I have a mouthful of candy, so this will be fun. Keeping it in my mouth. Uh, you know, uh, why I decided to run was I've been around education for a long time on different sides of it, and I'd never really experienced it on this side of it. I've always been either a teacher or somebody out in the community in the business, and I just thought it would be for me an opportunity to make a difference, with some of my background and some of the things that I've learned over the years, and so um, I think it's just a great privilege to be here.
Bishop, I ran because I want to help our school system be the best it can be. I'm not a public educator. I am not educated in education in any way, shape, or form, but I care about the schools. I have two kids in the school system right now. I've had two that have graduated, and that's important to me that they and the other kids have the best opportunities to be successful in their futures.
Um, I'm Andrea Minor. I'll just go ahead and go in order. And this is the beginning of my third year. I originally got on because I've dealt with children all my life, and I love children and have served them in different capacities, and felt like I wanted to deeper serve my community. I had been on the board of Aviva and did that, and then I knew it was time for other things too, so I thought I wanted to serve in this capacity. But the real deal was that I have grandchildren with special needs, and I was very, concerned about that, and just wanted to do my best to serve the students and the community.
I'm Rod Cotton, fairly new to the board. Uh, so actually be year number 32. It's crazy. Seems like it was just yesterday. Kids. That's why I'm on the board. You can fill the blanks. Give me a book and put kids in everything. I'm here for kids. And it's pretty simple. And I really like what Keith said, that we we do represent our community. I think the thing that I've been really impressed of the board the last probably 5, 6 years is that how well, since Jared's been here, to be honest with you, how many years is it now? Six or seven? Oh my gosh, it's great. Um, is how well we have worked together, and we've done that because, and we're going to go over some of that today, of the governance and the boardmanship. I think it's been really, really important, and knowing what our responsibilities as a board member is and is not. And something that you probably all know or don't know, I love the holidays. I love Christmas, and I am a Hallmark movie buff. And Christmas in July has been wonderful. Hallmark. Anyway, I'm glad, Brandon, you're back on. Um, I was going to say that's your enemy next door, but we've moved on from it. I'm just kidding.
I'm Ann Krimitz, and I came onto the board during the pandemic had just started, and that was probably the impetus for me um, stepping up and seeing how difficult it was for especially our kids. And I'd worked in schools in California where I'd come from, and I just really wanted to help kids recover. And so I felt like this was a place where I could be beneficial. Also, teachers, I'd worked as an aide with teachers, and I saw how difficult that time was also for them and continues to be. So my heart goes in both directions, and so I felt like Keith said, we I want to represent our community and the voices that of people in my circles that their concerns and their aspirations, and if I could have any part in that, that's why I wanted to be serving and to make 6 new friends.
So Keith, yeah, I think he's on his way, but I think it would be good if you would repeat what you said. I know you're not gonna be able to repeat it exactly, but you definitely had a couple of themes in there that you need to bring to the table.
Well, hello again. Keith Kubik. Um, why am I here? Well, I'm here because I have an extreme belief in public education in Oregon, extreme value it, and believe it's foundational to what we all should be doing. And that's the greatest gift you can give someone is providing them a foundation for the future. And education is an essential part of that, setting up a foundation for the future. I do have experience with service on the district board. I am a retired career public employee, so I have knowledge and information about a lot of the laws and procedures that we work through. And I have been formerly a long time member of the budget committee. So I do understand financing concerning public education. With that, the one other thing I'd say is we look through all of this. There's education material being provided by OSBA. There's information from staff that talks about the duties and responsibilities of school board members. And I think it was deficient in not also reminding us and putting out that we represent our community. We represent the members of our community, their goals, their visions, their values. And that is something that we need also to bring to the table and to our representation on the school board.
Thank you very much. And Director Hammerson is on his way over, so he'll be here as soon as he's able. So I just kind of wanted to say too, that we're a team, and trust is a huge thing. Trusting one another, and as Rod alluded, that it's kind of been different in the last 5-6 years under Jared's leadership. And I believe that it's safe to say that we've gained a lot of trust within the executive team, within the community. And I believe that's a direct result of us trusting one another and working together as we do, setting all other things aside, personal things, and focusing on the kids, just like our strategic plan says, they're at the center of everything. And when we put them first, everything else comes second. So very appreciative of that. And as serving as board chair, I've been very protective of that. And if I were elected board chair again, that is something I would continue to protect, because it ultimately sifts down to the kids. So anyway, Rod and I are kind of just go through we're not going to read this whole thing. We're just going to go through and hit some highlights, kind of tag team, have discussion. This is kind of loosey goosey. This is not real tight going on, because that's not what we wanted to do today. And I did want to thank Stephanie for getting together the binders and updating them with new org charts and new contact information and everything. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for that. You rock. Hang on just one second. Just needed to finish this text to Steve. Okay, so just to start out, we're going to be on the code of conduct at the beginning. It's actually Roman numeral 4. Just going to hit bullet point 1. That we
Where are we?
we
Are we in
yes, we're in the boardsmanship OSB. It's at the beginning, 4. It's Roman numeral 4 at the very beginning. Code of conduct.
in section 4?
Yeah.
Oh, it is in section 4. I'm sorry.
Section-
Thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
4.
Sorry.
Oh,
I've been in this for weeks, so
Or.
it made sense to me.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, under bullet point number 1. Just want to make sure everybody's there. Yeah, so it's chapter 4. Roman numeral 4. And the code of conduct. So the first bullet point understands that the board sets the standards for the district through board policy. So you're going to see that over and over, policy, 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 because we are a policy board. And board members do not manage the district on a day-to-day basis. So again, we've said it before, but we always need to be reminded that we have one employee that we review, evaluate, just one employee. We don't have any say over anyone else in the district. That's not our responsibility. That goes to the superintendent and the superintendent alone. So, and then on down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6th bullet point down, that we understand the chain of command and refers problems or complaints to the proper administrative office. Well, also in that, just whenever we hear a complaint, there's a process for everything. We are not the process. It's not our call. We direct them to the process. So if you have a parent that's upset, the process is, number 1, have you talked to the teacher? Talk to the teacher. If you don't get it resolved in a good way, you go to the principal. If that doesn't work, then you come to the district office, and start that. And it could come all the way to the board, but it has to go through a process. But we always want to be kind, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. And then on the next column, Rod was going to talk about.
Yeah, we've not had a problem here, lately, but I think it was worth repeating because I can personally tell you that, and it talks about in executive session, things that happen in executive sessions, and we stay in executive sessions. And, I experienced,
He's talking about confidentiality.
yeah, confidentiality. I experienced something that, I talked about and it got out. And it's something that was something personal that happened to me. And it got out. And that wasn't cool. And so, we just be very careful. Anything that's on an executive session, it stays in that room. And I do want to, in executive session, it's really easy to get off topic. We have to remember when we're in an executive session, we have to stay on the topic that we called that executive session for. And that's what we discuss. And news media is allowed, but they're not allowed to report on, they're not supposed to report on what's gone in there. They could do, a little, I mean, they can report, but they can't report what we discussed. Does that make sense? I mean, they're supposed to be very vanilla.
And there are some
about it.
things that they cannot come in.
Right, some things they cannot come on, and so, I think executive sessions are really important. We just, we've done a good job of staying on task. I just encourage us to continue to do that.
And then if, same page, if you go to the fourth one from the bottom, says give the staff the respect and consideration due skilled professional employees. So, we take that seriously because not are we just a team as far as being board members, but we're a team with the administration, and we're all a team and we're all working together for the good of the kids. And a part of that again, and I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I've been saying it for a long time and I'll continue to say it. So you guys can just listen to me, but make sure you read your board packet as soon as possible. We try to get it out as soon as we can, but there are things that hold that process up. And indeed, sometimes that even changes. But when you get it, read through it, usually get it on a Friday. On the weekend, try to make it a priority to read it. But the big thing is don't wait until Wednesday, the day of a board meeting, to ask questions. So I heard Stephanie say earlier, she was working on these binders all day to get them ready. So when we drop in, when we do these things, when we call and ask questions, they're busy people. I mean, they have lives too, and they're working hard. So we have to be mindful of their time and treat them with respect. It can be just hey, I can, is there a time I could come see you or whatever? But any questions that are in the board packet, if we could try to get them addressed Monday. If you could read the board packet, come Monday, Tuesday at the latest, that would be great. So.
Go ahead, no, go ahead.
Would you prefer then, via email questions or phone call to the cabinet member that you want to address or ask questions?
I know that would be a good one to ask them individually, I would think, is just say, if I have a question, how best.
To contact you?
Mhm.
Okay.
But the deal is just to do it earlier instead of later.
I want to say, so a couple of years ago, 2, 3 years ago, we asked if, because the stuff has to be into the office like the Wednesday before, so they can get the stuff together. So that was a change for them. So I mean, they're moving to get this stuff done. And if somebody wants to get something that on the agenda or something that's on the agenda and they have to have this information by Wednesday and it's not there, it's probably going to get pulled because it takes time. And I can tell you, don't think that we can't talk to our administrators or our cabinet because we can.
Right.
I think we just need to be because this is a universal issue. I mean, Keith, you probably experienced it in your job. I experienced it in my job. We have a calendar. I kind of work for the public in a way, but I could show you or any of us, I could show you a calendar and it would just be packed. And somebody calls and says, hey, can I meet with you? A salesman or whatever, I said, my calendar is full. I want to meet with you. Can I meet ? And that's kind of where our staff is. When you get to Tuesday or Wednesday, a week of a board meeting, it's a zoo. It's an absolute zoo. And if you look at, especially Jared's calendar, and he'll meet with you anytime. I mean, he'll drop what he's doing. But we should be a little bit more sensitive if we can. Because everybody's busy and it's crazy. It's crazy what's going on now. So I think that's if you get your board packet and get it read, because we're getting it plenty early now. Sometimes there are changes, but you know, you get an email, there's a change, the agenda's gonna change a little bit, or you know, we're pulling this. We get pretty good notification. Rarely will you get something the day of the meeting. But I think,
Unless it's urgent.
yeah, unless it's urgent. I think it's important that we look at, you know, even though they're working for us in one aspect. We still, it would be good if we could cut them some space, especially on a Wednesday of a board meeting. It's just really, because now because Keith, when you and I were on board for years, our meetings are always in here. And now we're out in the field once a month. It's a lot of work to pack that stuff. Yeah.
Madam Chair and members, there were just a couple of things that I've observed in my year and a quarter now on the board again. One, I've tried to focus my questions to Janet and she dishes them out. And I would have to ask the superintendent, but I also like doing that because that's like we did with the budget committee. If you submit a question, let the staff answer it and let everybody hear the answer because it's beneficial often. The second thing is that I will absolutely say that I have called in and asked a question this last year and a quarter, and I have seen a change, something changed because of it. Not that that's a great impact or anything, but a question was asked and obviously it had an impact. And the agenda might have gotten changed, or an approach, or how something was written might have gotten changed. I've found that to be a very responsive process.
And if that's okay, I'll just say, you know, I want you to know you always can pick the phone up. I'm always going to answer. And sometimes, and the board manages all sorts of things from finances to staffing so it's great to have questions. I hope you don't feel that. One thing so please, one thing we've tried to do, and we can keep working on this, is we don't want to surprise any of you. You should never come to board meetings surprised about something. So with our board bulletins, we try to have those mid steps to try to let people know what's on the horizon. And if that's, you know, we'll continue to look at how we can, you know, put those together in a way that gives people a little more perspective. And so if you ever have questions, call. And if you ever say, how does this fit into what we're supposed to be doing? How does it, just call. And it could be something that, you know, sometimes when you do something, maybe you're in the middle of something and you're getting pretty used to how that is, but other people are like, I don't understand how this even fits in. Just ask. And so, yeah.
But I would say, in defense of our superintendent, that when you ask, maybe to say, is there a time you could meet with me? Or, you know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
ask so that, because I do that as well. You know, I kind of just want to be careful because I know he's on the phone with the governor and oh my goodness, all those things. But, and I know he'll drop everything for everybody, you know, of the board. So I just want to be respectful of that. I do want to introduce something new. There should be, yes, okay.
This code of conduct is prepared by OSBA. It's philosophically for elected officials, but OSBA are not elected officials, and nor are they parents of children in our district. And there are two of these points that I take exception to. I want to speak to them. I don't have trouble for being in there. I don't have, but the fourth point on the first column, recognized decisions are made by majority. Absolutely. Majority rules, and I'll support overall decision, but I won't compromise my ability to dissent where appropriate. And it doesn't give you that implication. It doesn't let you know that. And that is a right that we have as individual elected officials.
It does say that later on in the handbook.
But it's not in the code of conduct.
Okay.
And that code of conduct is supposedly a measurement of performance. It is how we perform. So that, and then, as I said, we represent the philosophy, the policy, the values of our community. On the other column, on the fifth item, says refuses to bring personal or family problems into board consideration. This isn't going to be an issue for me now. It was an issue for me when I was a school board member before. And what I want to say is, if there's an issue that should be raised to the level of whatever it is, none of you have to give up your rights, your parental rights, nor take or not do what's right for your family, because you're a member of the school board. And that this leads you to not understand that, and it bothers me the way it's written. We're parents, we have families, and if a board member has a problem, they have full rights. You don't give up your rights because you're elected to the board.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree.
That's it.
Andrea, I have a
Yes.
question on that. So Keith, on the code of conduct here, would you, this is like you said, OSBA's. Does that necessarily mean that is ours? Or is this something that you tweak or you change to fit our district?
It's a training
Like-
guidance. It's a training guidance. It's not ours. It's a guidance.
Okay, so
We
we
don't
don't need
adopt this.
to,
Right, this isn't
change
policy, right, this isn't procedure, but which brings me to our next item. You should have a board member's statement of personal conduct. That's an extra paper. And if you don't, I have some extras. Do you have one, Brandon? Okay. So you know how we have a signed agreement with Jared? And we are bringing this to the board to suggest that maybe we could have our board member statement of personal conduct that we sign, that we, that we adhere to. So that's what this is. And I thought we'd read through it and see what comments are. But the RPS Board of Education commits itself and its members to ethical, professional, and lawful conduct, including proper use of authority and appropriate decorum when acting as board members. Accordingly, recognize that the primary responsibility of the board is to govern by use of board policy and to evaluate whether the district is best meeting the educational needs of the students and the communities as served by adhering to the district's strategic plan. This is by no means totally comprehensive, so I don't think it would be a volume if it was really written out, everything that we need to do. But number one, understand that the board accomplishes its responsibility to govern and evaluate the district by adopting policies by which the school district is to be governed, and the administration of the educational system, programs, and the conduct of the district business are the responsibility of the superintendent, not the board. Agreed?
Can I make a?
Yeah,
can
I mean,
have
that's
a
a
quick
tough.
question. So, we don't have this. This would be something new.
Mhm.
And I think she's presenting it to us now so we can make. if
So
there's
we can
something
vote
here
on
we
it
don't
tonight.
we don't agree with, we're in a work session, we make the changes. And I think it's a good thing to have, but there are a couple things in here few words that I would tweak and
Yeah.
take out, and I think it's a good spot, so. Didn't
Yeah,
mean to interrupt
no,
you,
I'm glad you
but
did. Thank you,
Keep
thank
that in
you.
mind as she's reading, make notes of.
Yeah.
Things that you want changed or taken out.
So
Your mic on?
code of conduct is guidance. This is what we're signing. What's in the code of conduct rewritten in this, or what's?
No, it
What do we-
somewhat mirrors it. This is just, I would say more technical, more in the weeds. This is very general. And also, as Keith pointed out, this is just a suggestion from OSBA, but we're looking at this and saying, no, we really, we want our own code of conduct, so to which is our statement of personal conduct, that this is what we will strive to do and we'll actually sign.
So
I think, Michael, the majority of this came out of a college.
Lynn Mitten.
So it's not an OSBA thing, which is,
Yeah, this has got our head, our letterhead on.
So, okay, why did we go over the code of conduct if this is what we're following?
Because
Why did we
this
set
is
that
what the
up?
OSBA is, right?
Right?
And this, we're introducing something new.
Right.
So, I mean,
understand
you
that.
may say, forget this, that's good enough. We don't need to go any further.
Okay,
Have we done something like this before?
I can remember.
So this is
new.
something new that we're introducing to the board to adopt our own code of conduct, which will have elements, obviously, of this.
Correct.
But will be more tailored to our district's value and desire,
Mhm.
aspiration of how this board will do it.
It's kind of similar to the working agreement that we had with Jared. I can't remember how many times we had it with our other superintendents. I don't think.
I don't think we
I
had
don't
one
think
when I
we
got
had
there.
it. So
Yeah.
kind of nice.
It would have been helpful.
It would have been helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially a couple times.
I mean, I will just say this, if you look under the board policies, so sections A and B are about, those are specific to the board. And there are a lot of policies. Remember doing that policy review? Like, how many policies do we have? You could take a wild guess of how many are in section A and B, but it's there like a binder full of those.
Yep, it's right
Um,
here.
And so I think sometimes the board has a tremendous amount of responsibilities. And sometimes those, not that they can be overlooked, but there's a lot there. You can go through the ones that are specific to myself. There's a lot there. I go through these all the time. So I think in a way, it doesn't always kind of tells what the policy can be. It's not always how we approach the policy. And some of this, I think, is more like how we approach the policy. Some is policy related. ORS, you have statute and they're driving most of this, but I think there could be some value on how a team approaches a policy.
Okay. So moving on to 2. Board members must not represent conflicted loyalty to the interests of the citizens of the district. This accountability supersedes any conflicting loyalty, such as that to advocacy or interest groups and membership on other boards or staffs. This accountability supersedes the personal interest of any board member acting as an individual consumer of the organization's services.
give me an example of that. It's a lot of
Um,
words, but what does it mean?
Okay, let's just go back. Let's say I'm still on the Aviva board and it's kind of like a conflict of interest in a way. I'm pushing for something that Aviva wants to offer us when maybe that's not in the best interest of our students, but I'm just working, for my friends over here. There's probably other better examples of that, but,
In reading number 2, I wouldn't sign it. I have no idea what conflicted loyalty is, and it's talking about accountability twice in here. I don't know what the accountability is. It's poorly written. Don't understand it. Wouldn't sign it.
so what would you suggest?
I don't know. I'm not quite sure what it's saying. I don't know what conflicted loyalty is. I truly don't know what this is talking about.
Okay,
That's
Well,
why, that's why.
that's why we're-
Understand what you're saying. 'cause
right, right.
What is it? Give me an
Well,
example.
this is giving us, obviously, this is not something that we are going to be able to agree upon today. This is something that needs to be worked on, so,
I have a question. What was the impetus for this? I mean, if this hasn't been done in the past, why are we doing this now?
um, well, it came to us that we needed more meat. There kind of needed more meat on the bones. We've had, not our school district, but other school districts who have had some difficulties. Whereas had they had something like this to protect, there could have been, more easier action for censuring those types of things. So it's kind of along those veins. So it's more of a, and also the one thing I thought about it would be similar to an agreement that Jared signs. It's just something that we would also sign as far as our behavior as well. So we don't have to do this. Yeah, I mean, you can read through it and we can discuss this later to say, this is what I really like, this is what I didn't like, or I don't want to do this at all. I mean, that's why I brought it, so that we could just discuss it and see. I'm not married to anything. Rod's not married. I can't
No,
speak for
not-
you, but
No, I kind of had this conversation a little bit with Jared's working, well, I can't tell you exactly, what's the title, your working agreement?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
the operating agreement we have.
I can personally tell you there are things in here that I really like.
Mhm.
And I think, the board's at a position where we need to have something that we agree upon, that we can sign. Because if we had, not all school boards are operating like we are. I look at, go and read about Wasco County right now. It's a disaster. But if we were, and I've been on a board where I wish we would have had something like this.
I appreciate the well-meaning of this document. I think it's really premature and needs review. There are 3 points on here that if just take a moment. Number 8, board members will give no public voice to matters superintendent or staff performance, period. We can't say they're doing a great job. We can't commend them. Come on, this is not a good document. I'm just gonna say that. And I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. I'm also concerned that our authority is set out by Oregon Revised Statute, not by an agreement. It's set out by the voters of this community, not by an agreement. I would take my time on this. I don't mind signing a statement of conduct or a personal conduct because it's ethical and it's important.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of just everyone taking a look at this and providing some feedback. But is it necessary? Don't know. We are governed by the statute.
well, let's just kind of set it aside. We'll table it and we'll address it in a different work session. That way people can read it, digest it. Maybe what would you like to see? And then we'll go from there. So thank you for your time and your honest feedback. That's good.
I apologize if I'm coming across as a butt heads.
No, don't worry about it. You can be a butthead. So moving on to chapter 1, which is actually page 1, should be the next page. Now that you're elected, you have been entrusted with one of the most important responsibilities in your community. Isn't that true? Wow. And that's why we're kind of taking time chewing on this stuff and having conversations that we're having. Rod, did you want to go over the,
I did, because I agree with what Keith said, but we are governed by, and there are ORSs that we have to follow. I did want to say, I would like to have, and I have no ownership on this, neither is at all. But I would like for us not to lay this, just put it in a file and forget about it. I think we need to have a conversation sometime down the line of, and if we decide not to do it, we don't do it. But I'd like to have some, I think it would be good just to put some more meat on the bone. Okay,
So could I just ask you, when and how could that take place? Not a board meeting?
no,
the work session?
a work session.
Okay.
I mean, we don't have to do it tomorrow. We got the whole year. And I know Keith will start going to work on it immediately. Yeah. Yes, yeah. So anyway, I just don't want it to get, like I said, I don't have any ownership to it. I just don't. I think we should do it. If we don't do it, we don't do it. That's fine. Okay, so we are governed by ORSs, and I just want to read these because it's healthy for me to come back to it. School board responsibilities include, and I get it, this is from OSBA, and you that have been around me for a long time know that I and OSBA have a hate-love relationship. So we need to enact rules governing school operations. That's an ORS there. Establish personal policies, which we do. That's an ORS. Approve employees' contracts, which we do, and we have classified negotiations coming up this year. Probably, I don't know when
Well,
to start.
yeah, we should
Well,
receive a demand of bargain this
yeah.
year, yeah.
We provide transportation for students. Enact rules and regulations governing student behavior, which we had more authority. Construct, equipment, and furnish buildings, prescribe courses of study, and provide instructional materials. We provide food service for students, acquire real estate for school purposes. Hi, Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Levy bonds and local option taxes. That's gonna be a good discussion this year. Ensure district compliance with state and federal regulations. And do other things necessary to carry out the duties and responsibility assigned to school boards by the state. Any questions on that? It's pretty simple. And like Keith has said, and I've said, there are things that we're governed by and state things that we are responsible for. We just don't want to go out of the bounds.
Right.
That's not been a problem with this board, but it is problems with other boards around the state. And it's pretty ugly.
So on page 3, as a public employer, the school board establishes policies that govern recruiting, hiring, employment, supervision, training, evaluation, and dismissal of employees. And the last sentence of that paragraph says, the board does not directly supervise district employees and should be careful to act through the superintendent in personnel matters. So there are, especially sometimes we get issues, in the past, there have been an email from an employee stating XYZ. It is not our responsibility as an individual board member to answer those emails directly. That's something that we have to be very careful with. So we just make sure that we forward that to Jared to say, this is the case. 9 times out of 10, there's much more to the story than we know. And there are things that we have to be careful with and with what we say as far as unions go and contracts. And so it's very important that we make him aware and seek his advisement on how we should move forward with that. So
Is there any, I'm gonna have another little section, but I'm just curious.
Neat.
To me, this, oh,
turn that on.
to me, this is a big deal. This is a big, big deal about when because we all get, letters from parents or emails from parents. Not all of us get the same, which is, some get one, some don't, think, and I've made it over all my years. I have never answered, email back when I first started. We didn't even have the internet. I can remember fighting amongst board members and putting rotary phones in the classrooms. Remember that, Keith?
You didn't write a letter back?
No, but I
No, he
took
carved
just,
it in stone.
unless I was a chair or a chair, or I was directed to do so. But I'm just, does anybody else struggle with this like I do? I mean, I've made it easy on myself now that I just don't. It goes to the superintendent and he responds, or the board chair responds, but does anybody else have lose sleep over it?
I've seen this issue on other boards, other executive directors, other superintendents, other CEOs and board situations I've seen outside of us. To me, it's like an educational communication, but it should be, if you're getting personal communication from somebody in the community, somebody on staff, somebody in administration, basically pining for you to do something about an administrative issue, it should be an educational opportunity to say, this is how it works. Jared's in charge of all of that. Of course, we as a board, as nucleus, have the employment decision up with Jared. And if we have any issues, we bring it straight to him, but there's no circumventing that process. It's, to me, it's an educational communication to say, thank you for, like we have been in the past couple of weeks with some issues. Thank you for addressing your concern. This will be a discussion that we brought up. We'll partner with Jared to see how, it goes. But at the end of the day, we're monitoring how he handles stuff. We're not taking action. We're not interjecting ourselves into any kind of decision that he has as the leader of this district. I mean, that's a conversation for us to have with him, but not circumventing that process is highly toxic. Not the way that we should.
Go ahead.
Oh, if I can just mention, thank you. I mean, you are the appeal. So part of the process involves the board in these tricky situations, employment issues and other issues of our KLAR policy, which is our public complaint policy, can get to the board. And so I think it's not a process that is intended to exclude the board. I think the board collectively, boards need to remember that they become the appeal in a process as it moves through. That the hope is to get it resolved locally as best you can, right? If there's still dissatisfaction, then it eventually could come to the board. We've had, since I've been here, one issue come to the board with a student. Many of you were on the board at that point. And we've had, we did have a request to come to a board, and they can, hear those if they want to. So the idea is to get most proximate. If there's an issue in a classroom, get to the classroom. How do we get that fixed? So I think the board understands here that you become the appeal if there's still dissatisfaction.
It's, I've gone over this over and over. Part of me, I want to fix things. If somebody has a problem, I want to fix it, okay. But in this role, that's not what you do. In this role, it's, as you said, it's like, thank you. And you respond with, thank you, to ensure the person that they've been heard, and then pass that on to the chair, the superintendent, so that it can be properly handled according to policy. So, but yeah, so I have wrestled.
And I should make clear myself is, if somebody says, I haven't had this issue, I will, times where I have response to, you should contact superintendent or principal. Well, I know the chain of command and left it at that, but I don't get in there and say, oh, and one thing I learned is, please keep me informed. I don't put that into my, he's probably gonna keep us informed. He's the person that should be keeping us informed. They don't need 7 different responses.
Jared, so I've appreciated the bulletin. Because I feel like we just need a short summary
Yeah.
of what's going on, because if we're asked,
Yeah.
maybe we haven't been addressed, maybe just you did,
Yeah.
but, it's good to know. So I would like that to continue, and certainly if it doesn't fall on the exact time that you do bulletins,
Yeah.
let us, and I think
Yeah,
you,
normally a text
you-
I get out if it's like something you need to know right away. I'll
Yeah,
just text. Yeah.
we appreciate that ongoing.
Okay, moving on to, just page 5, under suggestions for productive meetings. I just want, under the first bulletin point there, it says that, the board may allow public questions and comments at specific and limited times during the meeting, but it is not required to do so. So public participation is not something that we are required to do. I think most of you know that, but in case you didn't, it's not required.
I understand it's not required, but why wouldn't we? I mean, why wouldn't we want to hear what the public has to say?
There are times when we are doing the agenda where maybe there isn't time, or it could be that we have already had maybe, I don't know, a public hearing beforehand, or it's rare. We have pretty much always have public participation, but it is our meeting. That's the board's meeting. We do not have to have public participation. But even though we have had public participation in almost every meeting, very few people have things to say. I think that is kind of reflective of the trust that we have right now in the community. For the most part, we're doing our best for the kids. I don't think people can disagree with that.
I have a couple things. I should just shut up. We used to have public participation twice in a meeting. We had it at the start of the meeting, before any action items placed, and then we had it at the end of the meeting. Remember that, Keith? And our meetings would last, well, we start at 7, but our meetings could last to 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And I don't know about you, as I got older, I thought this just did not work for me. This is just not good. So it has changed, and there are districts that do not do public participation. There are districts that make it almost impossible. You got to fill a card out. I think our system is great, but you have to send your question in to the district prior to the meeting. And then they basically say, okay, we're gonna let this person speak. I don't like that. I think I'm gonna speak for myself for a minute because I'm curious. I think the way we're doing it's great. She's gonna slap me and that's okay, but where I struggle, and you guys should think about it, is the 2 minutes. I could not speak to this board or any board in 2 minutes. I couldn't, my brain does not function like that. I mean, and I'm not recommending that we go like the city does, 7 or 8 minutes. I'm not recommending that, but to me, 2 minutes is really short. I think you bump it up to 3, but I'm just tossing.
That's always something that we can discuss.
I'm just tossing it. Well, we're in a work session.
The thing of it is, when you go to the Oregon, like when I spoke in Salem, they give you 2 minutes.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, so there is kind of like precedence for it, but at the same time, I mean, there's pros and cons. I do know a school district that doesn't give you a time limit, and their meetings are gone to like 11, 12 o'clock at night. So
We're not doing anything wrong.
No,
I
but-
just toss this out because
hey, we can talk about it. You want to increase it, that's something we can do.
I am in favor of the 2 minutes.
I beg your pardon?
I'm in favor of the 2 minutes. I think you can get a lot done in 2 minutes.
Let's see, your brain functions different than mine.
No, I-
I would say that we should maybe keep it 2 minutes, but keep it as a guideline, not as a, hey, stop them when they're, I mean, if somebody's a train of thought and you should have that maybe as a chairperson to have the, have to say, press the button and say, okay, that's enough.
Fair, you like that person, you gave.
Well, no, I mean, people will, if somebody's
Okay,
rambling on,
Me too.
we
well,
don't
I
need
will tell
word
you what
salad.
Howard said. Howard Johnson, Director Johnson. Yes, he was very adamant. He said, if you don't maintain your 2 minute, then it's going to be run over. You'll never get it. It won't be good. I mean, if you have drawn a line, this is what it is. That's what it is. So, we have not had any complaints, and I have been gracious and merciful because I do struggle with that when you have nobody else on the docket. It's not a packed agenda and somebody is just trying to finish the last couple of sentences. I let them go,
So
you know.
two things. I'm in favor of the 2 minutes as well. I think when Michelle's been doing the, I don't know what you call it, mediation or whatever on those, she has noticed when people are like mid train of thought or content, and it's worthwhile to finish it, and kind of allow that to like teeter into the 2 minutes of 30 seconds area. I think she's done a wonderful job with that. I think we've also done a wonderful job with when we allow public comment and when we don't allow public comment. I think for the most part, we have allowed public comment, but one situation, Phoenix lately, that meeting where we were doing the vote didn't have public comment. We already had a time and place for the public comment to have. And so we were just 2 weeks after that going, we received all our information, we reviewed it, heard all the public commentary, there was opportunity for public comment. For an issue like that to fester for 2 weeks and then walk into that meeting and go, let's beat a dead horse. That would have been horrible, awful, in my opinion. So, I think that everybody involved has done a wonderful job on when public comments allowed and what means it's not allowed. And for the majority of the part, we do allow it. But to me, there are certain situations where it's like staying out past 10 o'clock. Football coaches tell their football players all the time, you're out past 10 o'clock, 90% chance something's bad is going to happen. I think that we've analyzed those 10% times and we've gone, don't need public comment for this meeting. We can handle it for a bit.
That's good. So can we go to chapter 3, page 9? On the second column, it says the chair is responsible for planning the meeting. So one of the things that we do differently and have actually had comments from other school districts concerning this is kind of the way we do our meetings and the way we structure things. So yes, the board chair is responsible for planning the meeting, but what we've done in the last couple of years is we've made it more the chair, the vice chair, and we open it up to another board member. So what we would like to do this year and is that we'll have a third person at the table. And there will be a fall, winter, and spring. Each of them have 6 meetings where we'll have a board member sit with us and help plan it because this is a team thing. Ultimately, the board chair will have the final say, but normally it's not like that at all. It's everybody's in agreement, which is what is really cool about this board is pretty much everything we're in agreement. We have differing opinions. They're heard, respected, and honored, but all in all, we're pretty much all focused on the kids, and so it goes in a good direction. So now what this entails is, so for every board meeting that we have, we meet previously, we do an agenda setting meeting. And then after that board meeting, we do a board debrief. So it's 2 meetings for every board meeting. So it is a little bit of a time constraint. The wonderful thing about that is to people who've done it in the past, like in the years, well, we've only done it for 2 years. It was split up half the year, so only two people got to do it. But, and the people who have done it before, I think would tell you that it's very, very insightful. And it gives you a better understanding of what's going on behind the scenes. And, I think it's more unifying as well. So, there are, the fall one, if you, I should have actually printed this out, but yeah, I meant to do that. Sorry. I'll get you the dates here because preference will be given to someone who hasn't done it before. So Keith and Brandon, if you're interested, I know your schedule's pretty packed, but would love to have you as the third chair. And Keith has not done it yet, so you guys would get preference, but then we would do it in order of who can do it when and what fits our schedule. One year, Mike wanted to do it, but he couldn't do it in the spring, or excuse me, he couldn't do it in the fall. He needed to do it in the winter because of his work schedule at the college. So I love it. I think this is highly valuable, and I will tell you, I think it's one of the things that sets us apart and why people are asking what we do, because it just helps to know and be a part of it and draw us together as a team.
Can I say something last night?
Yeah.
So Howard, may he rest in peace. We had 4 new board members 2 years ago. And we got the ball, with help from district staff, we said, what can we do to get things rolling? Remember that? So we did this we had our
You
book,
started it,
we
yeah.
started this to get new board members up to speed. Then we said, let's start a mentor program with the new board members and bring them into when we are setting the agendas. So I think all the new board members were able to sit in on that. And that's not done around the state.
Yeah, they
And,
do that.
and, it didn't take us a year to mesh all these new board members in. I mean, we were up and running, going. I mean, I don't know what you thought about it or what you guys thought about it, but I thought it was very, very beneficial. And we didn't give OSBA any credit either, so
This is totally not OSBA, just saying.
So let you know, so I think it's really wise to continue it. It's not a mentor program now because everybody's been on the board, but I think it's wise on those meetings to have 3 voices. So, this is my opinion, what went really well, like 2 minutes is not long enough. I don't know, just threw that in, but, and then have a hand in the planning of the following meeting. The meetings are very organized and lots of meat. We're just not meeting to meet, so.
Right.
I hope whoever's on gets to do it is what will do it.
So if you just, let me know if you're interested in doing it. And if you could also give me an idea of which one would work best for you because of your schedule. Preference will be given to you and to Keith.
When do you typically,
Here.
when?
Oh, when? It's usually, and that's the thing is it could be whenever. Usually the debriefs are the day after board meetings, so it's usually Thursday morning. And then usually we meet on like a Thursday, or it kind of varies, but
Schedules, yeah.
but it just depends. So like if you're wanting to do it, then we would also incorporate that schedule for that time, because we would do what we can to do that. But most of the times it's during the day, in the mornings usually, or mid-afternoon usually. But yeah, so we'd like to continue that. So But yeah, if you're interested, please let me know. And like I said, let me know which one fits you better if you have a preference. And there will be 3 this year instead of 2. So on page 10, I just wanted to touch on that. Toward the bottom, it says that the chair, the monitor, make sure all board members participate, limits discussion by those who dominate, keeps the discussion on issue. So Rod and I just wanted to say to whoever the board chair is, it's okay if you get bossy. So, and cut someone off and say, okay, Rod tells a story about that. So I've never had to cut anybody off and I've not been cut off, but,
Steve is cutting.
oh, well, then you can be cut off.
It's very difficult.
Um, so going to chapter 4 on page 12, the board and superintendent. Again, the superintendent is the school board's chief executive officer and main advisor. He's our only employee. That's the only one we worry about. And so that being said, we do have the board superintendent operating agreement. That should be in your packet someplace. It's not in the binder, but Stephanie probably gave you a copy of this. You did, okay. All right, let me see something. That is not what I have a copy of. Well, okay, here's the deal. It's nothing new. You signed it last year. So it's basically, and nothing's changed, but it's how we work together with Jared. And it's about how we communicate. We have check-ins, right? Regular check-ins with Jared. That's where we meet in executive session and we say, you know, it's kind of like a mini evaluation so that we don't get to the end of the year and say, you know, hey, we're not happy with this. That's not fair.
How often
So-
does Jared rate the board?
Uh-huh. Oh, you are great. So that's part of what, one of the reasons we like this, because we've had this discussion that boards usually do. This board's not done it, but a yearly self-evaluation. But in a way, we do have self-evaluations because we're meeting with him all the time and he's saying, what do you need from me or whatever. But we were just discussing the other day that during these self-evaluation or these evaluations with Jared, that we need to be saying of Jared, what do we need to be doing? How can we improve? You know, what could we do better? I know one of the things that we can do better is making sure that we read his board bulletin that comes out. That is, Anne alluded to it, and it's great for those little nuggets to keep you informed of real time of what's going on. So,
I just do want to note, after first year, I did send an email individually out to everybody. Basically ask where I need to step up, where I'm doing good, what I do. And most of you were weirded out by it. Just saying. So I
Yeah.
did try to do that, but
no, that's awesome. I remember.
Yeah.
No, that was great. Cause that is great. You know, I know there are different entities, including the OSBA, that offers tools on how a board can conduct a self-evaluation. So that is something that we could look into as well, how we want to do that. But I know initially, I think our biggest,
I guess I'm not as interested in the self-evaluation as I am in what Jared, how can we help him?
yes,
I mean, I'm more interested, I want to be told the hard thing.
Amen, brother.
I want to be told, Brandon, step up, whatever it is, you
Yeah.
know?
I'm on the same page.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I feel like, Jared's just kind of like a punching bag to us. It's just like, he's like trying to, make us all happier or be there for us. And it's like, that constructive criticism is mandatory. That's kind of why I reached out to everybody on the board. Cause at that time, I was three of us were like brand new.
Mhm.
So I was kind of like, hey, you know, if anybody has constructive criticism, I'll take it. Like, I'm not offended by constructive criticism. Say, hey, you're slacking on X, Y, Z. I'll say, okay, cool. I need to focus on these things. There's a blind spot. Thank you for clearing up the blind spot. So yeah, I'm totally and that's one. It's like if
Absolutely.
Jared needs something out of us that he's not getting, he should be demanding it from us. It's not, I don't think it's a two-way street. It's not for a nucleus possible. Whatever he needs, we need to do that.
We talked about this last week. And we talked about self-evaluation. I don't like forms.
I don't-
I'm not a form guy. And I said, you know, what would be good? Because you're right. Jared has never said a negative thing to me and I deserve it. And I'm just waiting and waiting and waiting and he has never done it. And it's a respect thing. I get that. But I think in these check-ins that we do with him 4 times a year or whatever, that part of that meeting, if it's the end of it, that's fine, wherever it fills in. He needs to be, or each board member, if something, you know, that, and it's not a personal attack, it's be constructive criticism, that's the time we get it out. And Jared can tell us, Rod, or he won't get personal with us, but he'll say, I need, or however he wants to do it. But I think we should just set time aside during these check-in times for us.
And I think I disagree with you I don't know if that's the right moment. Because sometimes in those check-in times, you're discussing his contract or you're discussing things like that. I don't know if the power dynamic is not favorable
Well,
for him.
do
being
however,
honest.
whatever works.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
I
do.
want it to be in a moment where he can be honest and he's not worried, well, crap, is this gonna affect my bottom line?
I think separating the time for focus and intent on it going up as opposed to Grant saying, oh, if you're in a point of vulnerability, we shouldn't be, you know, saying, hey, what constructive criticism? It's just the wrong.
You probably have to do it in a public meeting.
And I'm not necessarily concerned about Jared, but what about the next superintendent? Or do you
Exactly.
understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I've not had a negative interaction with Jared. We don't always agree, so.
Yeah, I'm thinking, mechanically why it would if we did it separately, it would probably have to be in public meeting, which is probably okay. I don't know. That is-
Depends on what's
Yeah.
going to be said.
You know,
Yeah, I mean, I can give you an example when this did happen, and I think, we're all adults and we all hopefully love honest feedback. I love honest feedback. I love people being critical. I think our relationship is unique in the fact of I clearly understand in my role the power dynamic of the board. You're my employers. I get that piece. At the same time, we're working differently because we have a common goal. So it's not like a relationship, and some board superintendent relationships are, it is a micromanagement. It's kind of a micromanagement situation. There's low trust. They have different goals and priorities. We operate quite differently here. I actually think the board superintendent check-in is a good place to start. And I can give an example. We were at Joe Lane a couple of years ago, and the board asked me this question: what do you need to move the work forward? I love that question because really, this isn't about personalities. We want to get stuff done for kids. The whole goal is to have them have a better student experience and better outcomes. It's not personal. And I love that question, which was like, I need, at the time, we needed to hire, we didn't have a teaching and learning director. We had to have one so we could get our curricular house in order. And that was a really good opportunity to just check in terms of like, what do you need out of us? And I think we can, I wouldn't be opposed if you're concerned about a power dynamic. I wouldn't be opposed to trying it in those check-in meetings. The check-in meetings should be reciprocal, where we're just checking in. It's great for you to check in with me, how you think I'm doing. I think it's fine. Just say, here's how I think we're doing as an organization. And if I need something from the board, I would just say, I need this from you right now. I would be fine with that. Yeah.
You, at one point, not that long ago, had sent out an email. You were advocating a lot up there in Salem,
Mm-hmm.
and you asked us to contact
Mm-hmm.
our legislators. That's the only thing that I can remember that you asked us to participate with you,
Yeah.
in that. And I think that something like that, that we can, however we can best support you, because we know you're the head man, and we can support that. Also, as far as the community leaders, what our areas of influence are, we need to be, because you can't cover it all. And
That is true.
so this is where,
Yeah.
things like that, but help us too by saying what you would like to see. I don't know. I mean, for me, I could use that.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
Um, this could help us,
Yeah.
if you could do this.
Just think that we don't have a lot of issues that a lot of other
Yeah.
districts do. Right? We don't have any board members in here that are hijacked by a political agenda.
Mhm.
We don't have, there's a lot of stuff that happens in other districts that's toxic and divisive and has nothing to do with what's the best interest it's in our
Mhm.
district. So, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, in my opinion. If you're cool with a reciprocal.
Yeah.
If that's something that you're comfortable with. Good.
Yeah. Long-
Oh, gosh.
We can revisit if it doesn't go well.
You want to go ahead and cover that?
Yeah, I do.
There's one other topic Rob wants to cover.
So, I want to talk about, my personal thing, then talk this out for a minute, but my plan this school year is I think it's gonna be, it was smooth as last year, even with the big topic, the big P out there, but, I want to visit more schools personally on my, outside of, the tour. And Jared really likes when board members visits schools and staff. But what I have found that the best way to do these things is give him a call. We just can't show up at schools because that doesn't work. And many times he wants to go with us, and he's I think it's wise. And we're not there to evaluate. We're there we're there to maybe look at a program.
Yeah.
Have lunch, I don't know, whatever, but I want to do more of that myself this year. And my commitment is I will always call you to, hey, and I won't give you a day's notice. I say, hey, sometime this month, I want to visit a couple schools.
And actually, that's what it says in chapter 6 on page 21. It talks that you arrange visitations through, with the principal and the teacher. But also Jared has said that he really would like to know, because it does freak him out. But the other thing is that we need minimal disruption.
Yeah.
The teachers are on a schedule. They're teaching this, this, and this. And when we drop in, it doesn't go good. So, but that's one way we can honor people and also, respect them.
I do want to know there's liability there too. And we saw it with
Well, that's your bailiwick. Yeah.
one guy that was
Ah.
very noticeable.
Uh-huh.
His name, so I'm not gonna-
Don't mention names
But
on
yeah,
the recording.
But he was.
A board member. Huh.
But I mean, conversation with a teacher and a security person wasn't well received both ways. And it was all from a random visit to talk. And the conversation went south. And then it's like plastered all over the newspapers. Everybody in the state knows about it. It's just like, could that whole situation have been prevented?
Mhm.
Just from,
Mhm.
having to be in a school and having conversations. It's just
Absolutely.
time and place.
But we do have policies on that. BBAA talks about the individual boards, members' authority and responsibility, and it breaks it down how you deal with the cabinet and the superintendent, but I think is that part in the book yet, Steph? The policies, so it is in there, so there are a lot of policies in there, so the last thing that I kind of wanted to touch on is committees. So everybody, they're basically, we serve on 3 committees and we actually chair one. So what would be helpful to me is if you would rate 1 to 8, what you would be interested and how you would be interested in serving. Did you already, I brought extras.
All right, okay. Okay.
Stephanie, she's on top of it. So you've seen this list and this is what, the different committees you serve on.
Oh, I thought this was mine.
So,
Is it two?
no, it's just one page, So if you could fill this out, it will help me to, or whoever is chair, I'm just saying, whoever's chair, help get you on the committees that you want to serve on and what capacity. I know it's kind of a different form, but if you could just give it to Stephanie or me, whenever you get a chance, you might want to read up on some of the committees. Personnel and administration and personnel, that's not one that is, an every month thing. Building and sites / bond development, that one's going to be pretty intense. Curriculum and instruction, we meet fairly regularly on that one because each year we're adopting a new curriculum. Employee bargaining classified, so that one's really not going to meet. And then you have the license side, which will be, classified, we will be meeting this year. Licensed, we won't. Finance as needed, policy as needed, so that one's probably not going to be too in-depth right now. Student services is probably going to ramp up more than it did last year. It was once a month, serving our special needs. That's probably going to increase this year, so kind of gives you an idea of what all is at. And then if you would let me know if, yeah, that would be great. Oh, wow, you guys are like on top of it.
I know.
And this is why you guys are the best board in the state, maybe the nation. So at this point, I'm sure you'll read through all your information that you've received on your own time if you haven't already. But I'd like to ask about what do we want to include in our principal reports, building tours during our site visits? How we've been doing them. So on the meeting that's at the school, we go a little early, we have a tour. Are you still interested in having a tour? Since we've pretty much seen all the schools, thank you. Are you, you've seen the schools, or do you just only want to see what kind of updates there may have been? If we've had any seismic work done, or what do you want to see from the principals, specific reports, trending? I know one thing I would like to see is a little bit, the reports on performance. Kind of, this is where we were last year, this is where we are now. Just point blank, not this is what our goal was and da da da. I want to see the numbers of this is where we were last year, this is where we're at now. Something more concrete of there and now. So
I think
to get started.
2 years of prior data would help.
I beg your pardon?
2 years of prior data, because we won't know this year's, and
Right.
so you're basically
Yeah.
2 years of
Exactly.
prior data will be beneficial more than just one.
That would be good for trending, for
Yeah.
sure.
Andrea, I thought the last one, Ucrest, was shorter, but it told me what I needed to know. I don't know if there's a template where everybody
There is.
does the same, because it's really hard to compare then schools, what, I mean, unless you've got your other one and you're gonna dig that out and, look at it. So I don't know if we can emphasize that, or, to get it.
Chelsea has helped. We worked on this. So,
Okay.
so how this process works is we sit down, we look at data often, meet with principals. We're meeting throughout the year. We see what their data is. We set, expectations for them in terms of growth, literacy, math, attendance, and what we call the path to graduation, even at elementary schools, right? So that's kind of 4 things we've been focused on. Those all fit with our board priorities. There's more the board wants to know, probably about care and support and those kind of things, but they've primarily been focused on instruction. Are we moving a student achievement forward, right? And I think it's been really helpful. I mean, to give you some perspective, 3-4 years ago, we had administrators that didn't even come to board meetings. And so the expectation was that if we're going to move this work forward, that the board is identified as the key work in the district, we are going to be getting reports on that. 2 years ago, they reported to you specifically. Last year, they reported to us as part of that. And so I do think it's good discussion in terms of what the board wants out of this. It has been, there's for the most part, principals have enjoyed an opportunity. For some, it's a little bit, they get a little nervous coming up, but we have a template. We've tried to keep it consistent, but it varies depending on the person presenting. I think the question for the board is, have you found it valuable getting the principal reports? For me, it's exceedingly valuable that we're accountable for what we say is a school district student should experience. Your zip code shouldn't determine your success. And for me, it's been valuable. I just want to make sure you're getting what you need. It ought to be a way that you should hear about how the strat plan's being operationalized in every building, how we're moving the work forward academically. A couple years ago, we did more of which is wonderful. Our kids are cute. They have really, they wear cute clothes and all that. And I was like, hey, the board knows that. Like, I love that. But that's not what the board is interested in. We're interested in making sure we're moving. I have every expectation our district can be one of the highest achieving districts in Oregon. We can be. It does require systems built where there is accountability and support. So I don't know how those work. I think the question is that working for the board? Do you want something different from principals when we're at buildings?
I know people don't like to talk about problems, but could we ask them to highlight just a few of where are they struggling?
Mhm.
What are they struggling with?
Yeah.
What are they doing to solve the problems?
Yep.
And that people don't like to do that. It's
Yeah.
hard.
Mhm.
That could be very strategic. That could be very strategic, especially if the problem is there's a forest fire outside. We don't have the air conditioning. We can't open the windows and we can't turn on the fans. I mean, that would be something that could be a help to let the community members know we're struggling because, we're talking bond. And also the part that I like about, you're talking about its accountability for their test scores with us. I like that because their community, those parents that are attending, they need to know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
You had something to say.
So we're talking about consistency, principles, PowerPoints.
Yeah.
board meeting.
And the content, I think, also what you need.
So, I mean, I feel all of them had the ELA ratings, math ratings. There was a consistent slide of saying, here's our performance in here's our performance in math. So I feel like they were pretty consistent. Different principals kind of did a different thing outside of that. My only gripe maybe would be, where is this school at? This particular elementary school at? And what on average, where are we at in the district? So having that actually addressed of like, how are we performing compared to the rest of our district might be a little more illustrating to say, if this particular school is falling behind, not. I appreciate your zip code shouldn't determine, your progress or your performance. But it's like a harsh reality. It kind of does. I mean, like there's areas of, Melrose is not the same as downtown Roseburg. And the demographics aren't the same. And there are going to be pain points with certain areas as opposed to others. Because simply there might be parents that are more involved in their child's lives.
Yeah.
And are actually supporting their kids instead of the kids trying to support the parent. So, I don't know.
I like the comparing it to the district as well as the state.
Yeah. Okay. And those are the data sets. I mean, we tend to look at achievement data, but achievement data has its own flaws because the kid may have been at grade level the previous year, may have went backwards and still met the standard that year. That happens. So sometimes we can pat ourselves in the back of doing a good job when you may have seen less growth than expected or even negative growth potentially. There's also achievement data can be challenging too if you think about kids that come in well below that have had tremendous growth but aren't at achievement yet. So we can take a look. I think the question will be, are we again, what is the board's interest in? What do you really want to know? Are kids growing? Are they at benchmark? Is it comparative data, longitudinal data? Is it cohort data? We tend to talk about, say, fourth grade reading, year to year, different kids. Or is it more cohort data where we take a look at, how those kids have grown over time? So just their considerations, I think. Number one, it sounds like the board overall likes to get the reports from principals. But if there are ways to improve that process, we can get that moving.
We need more meat on the report. And if it's 15 minutes versus 10 minutes, for some reason as I get older, I want more times. What I really enjoy is the tour before and then of the dinner we have. And the tour before doesn't have to be the building, but it could be a teacher or two highlighting something that is successful in their building that we could spend, they
Yep.
could spend. I know they're busy, but most of them would think it's an honor.
Yep.
And they spend 10, 15 minutes highlighting something that they're doing that's making a huge difference in our kids' life. That's what I like to see. I love the artwork that most of us don't stop and look at the artwork that they've put together for us. They put a lot of effort into this.
Absolutely.
But I'd really like to see,
Case in point, I went to Green's Reading Cafe. It was the coolest thing ever. And that would have been something that could have been showcased. The way they set the tables up and the menu of the books and the way they come and, they offer you the menu with the books and the child reads to you. The whole thing was like super awesome. Like, this is so cool. You gotta go. You gotta go. I'm just saying. But that would have been a fun thing, to highlight.
that's what I'd like to see. But
Okay.
whatever.
Okay.
Observation, I really like on the tour for the principals to point out to us needs and improvements.
Yeah.
We got to keep that alive. What's happened here?
Yeah.
And what do we still need here?
Yeah. And I actually think the tours have mostly been about, newer items we've done.
Right.
We haven't really taken a deficit tour. We haven't. I mean, if we want to talk about just being straight up honest, here's the deficiencies of the building. And that could be from a seismic standpoint. It could be, every single one has issues with every single building's aging. So it's going to be roofs and it's going to be plumbing and it's going to be electrical and it'll be, all systems, if you will. We haven't done that because we want the board to see some of the things we've done, which have been good improvements, but we haven't really taken a look and said, here's what really we need to really think about improving the next couple of years.
Well, part of my strategy on that is we need to build toward bond or operating levy. And we need to start talking about those improvements. Not
Okay.
big deals, small deals.
Yeah. And Madam Chair, it's okay, just one thing, just real quick, as we just finish this item up is, one of the things some of the inconsistency on the principal reports isn't because of, is the principal, it's oftentimes because of the time of the year in which you don't have data. And so if we were to have all principals present at a certain time, there could be more consistency, but just by the nature of how we're doing this, when you're there on a September visit, you're like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, okay. Thank you.
So possible two birds with one stone. Um, you're saying facility tours outside of the scheduled facility tour before the board meeting is something that you are interested in, right? And then, so what if we did like a deficiency or a prioritization? I don't know how to say like chart on visitation that some of us or all of us go tour the facility and say, hey, what's your particular priority list at this school of things that need to be addressed?
I have the perfect answer to that. Building and Sites is going to be very busy this year. So whoever the chairman is, you could do 2 or 3 schools in a meeting, 2 probably in a meeting. And the folks, the site operator or the principal or Tracy, they're with you. And they tell, they show you what the deficiencies are. I mean, 15 minutes is really hard to squeeze or 20 minutes, on a school meeting day. I think the building sites they're going to be very busy this year. And I think that's really going to be bond stuff, building towards passage of a bond, really. So that would be my suggestion, whatever it's worth.
Item number 4 on the agenda is the OSBA Summer Conference. Is there any interest? It's August 8th through the 10th. I will tell you, my personal opinion is, other than spending time with board members and with Jared, I don't see the summer conference as being very useful. I think if you're a brand new board member, it's helpful. And I have heard from other board members in the state that, yeah, the summer conference is kind of not a good one. However, moving on to the national conference, I hear that one is really good. Never been to one. The national conference is in San Antonio, Texas, April 10th through the 12th. And so I would say that we do have a budget item for conferences. I would say we wouldn't want to be a conference hog and go to both of them, but maybe if you would like to go to one of them, that can happen. There are many reasons, and I want to say this publicly. People will question, why are you going to a conference? Well, we need ongoing information to grow as board members. That's why I said the summer one, not so much. I don't think that's really helpful. However, it is to get information from national leaders to rub elbows with other leaders in the nation is invaluable. And then also just even as a team, it is very valuable growth and team building as well. So you pick up a lot of ideas, things that people are doing that are really great that maybe you can implement in your school district as well. So that being said, take it away.
Is there a brochure or something on that? Or do you go online and?
It's online.
Okay.
Actually, the one in the national one in in Texas is not really posted right now as far as what the sessions are breakouts. A little bit early for that, but history has said that it is a good conference to go to.
I haven't even heard of this. So we had the summer OSBA, and then we had the November one in Portland. That's state.
Mhm.
So,
This is the national level.
so this is
This is national.
not OSP. And this happens,
April
every
10th
year.
through the 12th.
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
And they rotate.
so we haven't done this for 2
Long
years
time.
now.
We haven't gone. I can't tell you. I've never gone.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is completely brand new in terms of us.
We've had board members, we've had boards and board members who have went. I know my friend Bernice Wagner went, several of them. So they've gone, but it's been a long, long time.
So what's the deal with the one in November?
I don't know when that one is.
Well, we're not.
Yeah, the fall one, still available. Yeah, I don't.
Is the fall one available? Have they
I'm
been
just wondering
posted?
why we're addressing summer conference and the national conference, not addressing the state level.
I personally haven't heard anything on the one.
Oh, because it's the information.
Either that or I just didn't see it.
I haven't seen any.
And it's January around Veterans Day.
So I mean, I've kind of had the same message this whole time. I'd be interested to go to someone, if somebody else on the board is interested to go. I'll respectfully disagree with you. I think the one last year, I was the only one that went. I think it was very helpful. I actually had to deal with an internal issue in our district that was solely based on AI and the issues that the school district is struggling with at a national level, college level, high school level with AI. It was actually very, very informative, helpful to understand the issues that we're dealing with in the school districts of the artificial intelligence. At the same time, like I said before, I haven't seen any interest on the summer conference this year. And we're not going. So the national conference is like, we would all fly out to San Antonio.
But whoever would go, it's whoever wants to
What's
go.
the date on it?
April 10th through the 12th.
They do
Sounds
have,
expensive.
they have the OSBA annual convention, looks like November 6th through 8th in Portland. I don't see an agenda, but that's the date.
Thank you. Okay.
So
So just be aware that the reason we're talking about at least the national one now is because registration opens in August. So that's why we're kind of just heads up. So, yeah, or whoever the board chair is, yeah. Yeah. Because we'll be voting on who's chair and vice chair tonight. The 25-26 school year kickoff, you wanna,
sure, yeah, I'll mention that a
Talk
little
about
bit
that.
tonight in the official board meeting tonight, but every other year we get the whole staff together, so all 750 of us, we try not to break fire code at Rose Theater, but we can get all the staff there. It's been really a successful event. We make it short and sweet. We had 2 years ago almost every staff member there. We do a breakfast. Our nutrition service staff have been great about that. It's really a good way to come together as a whole organization. Sometimes in school districts, you get pretty siloed into your school and into your grade level, maybe your content area. And it's important for me that the whole organization is recognized and also receives a kind of a common message of where we're going. We used a couple of years ago, we try to think about what's on the horizon a couple of years out and tried to have some themes there that we thought the staff would remember, and they helped us kind of throughout the last couple of years. Last time Rod spoke, and I kind of like having a board member also share a message with staff. I think that was really impactful. So the 25th of August, I don't know if the board has received 7:45 to 8:45. We'll have the whole staff together for an hour at the Rose Theater. And we hope that nobody will get ticketed in the back by Finley because we'll should have a parking lot hopefully done back there. And we would invite the board to be there to celebrate staff. It's the 25th, Monday, the 25th of August, 7:45 to 8:45. We'll have a breakfast there for staff, and then probably about 30 minutes or so all together for a message. The board has expressed some interest of having, yeah, it's Monday, the 25th of August, and Steph can get an invite out to you. 7:45 a.m. Yes, thank you. 7:45 a.m. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. The board, I think, has some members of the board have asked if there could be we've kind of had not a vendor fair, but we want to make sure when people come, they also get what they need from a just a human standpoint. So if they need to find out more about how to set up a 429 or a HSA, or you want to meet the folks from MOTA who do health insurance, the HR team will be there. It's kind of a rally around how could we help you and serve you, and welcome to the team. You're part of the family. Thanks for being here. The board is also, some board members have asked, can the board have a spot to be? Maybe have something to hand out to people, congratulate people on the start of the year and the success we've seen so far. So we'll get that set up. We'll have that on your calendar. So.
Great.
Yep.
Okay. We'll talk about item number 7, bond UCC.
Yeah. Do you think we want to do, people want, I don't know how we're doing on time. People want to take a stretch break before we get going here?
Take a break and then you can.
Okay, great. Okay.
This is the proposed.
Yeah, that's, nice. It's really the only location other than. Yeah, we did around 1 year. We would dish fine, but UCC, we will see it or. No, but we've had. Yeah. Actually worked pretty well on the book.
That's his.
We added some
That's
good
his
stuff.
personal candy.
You can have it.
Hey, Mike.
Yep.
I really need you to do 1 to 8 because I need to see what you
Do what?
rate up all of them 1 to 8.
Oh, I didn't listen to the directions. though.
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. You're not the only one.
Oh, good. Okay.
But you can resubmit your homework.
All right, I just forwarded you that.
Oh, okay.
So, forget what I'm trying to see if there's a flyer, parking lot next to the agenda. This is Lisa for parking. No, they said, oh, we can do it. We need to put 3 million into it. The lease it to you. We want to lease a 20-year lease at 22,500 a month. I'm like, no way. So then I said, okay, just don't, what would it cost if you just didn't improve it? If the high school parking lot for kids, we couldn't do that. You can, because if we're not at that. We got 147 times. I mean, it just sits there vacancy in that one. Why would you have to say? I know. Parking lot. Parking structure. Parking lot. Parking structure.
See, it wasn't last time we did this, the first, when we had all the new board members, because we only had, we had 4 members that weren't sworn in. So legally, we only get 3 board members.
You go up. Yeah, more than that.
And we got that check and.
40?
Not quite.
Pushing 40%?
It can be expensive.
Yeah. But this.
Because I was gonna bring that up also.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in.
Yeah.
So.
Short side. They're like, I was like, well, what it cost to do it? Didn't improve it. Just didn't improve it. Well, we couldn't do that. Right. You can do that. I mean, I was like, what if you did? What if you did? It's 10 grand you make it. We take the
river. Yeah, yeah.
10 grand for the year.
I wouldn't go when it's hot.
No, heck, no. No.
No way. I think too, if you're, I'm surprised you've never been. Was
Well, we're hoping that it'll get on.
All this through something.
And then we have, dinner will be out there about 4:50, or and it all depends on that.
I can go quick. I'll go fast.
I mean, hopefully it will.
Oh, no, they're.
No, 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 no. We have.
They, I don't know. I mean, they'll make. Oh,
No.
The bit most expensive.
That's on the board. But it's not.
Yeah, I would. I would be upset.
Yeah, oh no, she's made sure that you will have.
Never have. They have some great names. I think, you know, the guy.
Huh?
I know, but did we win today? Yeah. We needed that. I hope.
I mean,
No,
you
no,
do,
it's
you're
been
getting-
tough with the lines open, no, like, when's the other two?
Okay.
And I have.
Yeah, I think I might have done it.
Yeah, today, just adopt their way.
Well,
Once
I
it's
don't
adopted, you'll rent.
Oh, well, yeah, yeah.
No, you know,
You know, they can feel. And they,
No, just throw them on the.
yeah, I think they would, but they're. Because it's. They give them two options, one that they accept it. You get the policy.
And then.
Or they have it just every aspect, they can't have it.
We'll send out.
Yep, exactly, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
for the
yeah,
summer conference, so-
exactly. Okay.
We're still missing one,
And just walked out.
two. Mm, mm. Okay.
Share a little leadership message to start making to frame this up. We'll get all, I can move through this pretty quick. Oh, the coin companies that charge some of this high share. Oh, that's.
You were on.
I have a bunch of like
But I
questions
do
and
start
stuff. I'm not
on
gonna
the-
go into it right then. It's like-
Nobody else.
There's some like,
They don't.
some people
they don't
thinking,
do
if we're not
the
taking a
next
vote of the ball.
Fall one until summer is all. So we won't, other than the date, they won't happen. And we don't have anything on the national one until next.
I beg your pardon?
Are you guys going?
Who
Are
will?
you going to?
So for the national.
National.
I'd like to know.
I'm interested.
Claire and I are gonna go.
I'm interested, but not for sure yet.
Conference cost for
I
the
haven't-
license.
I haven't mentioned
I
it
gotta
to
get
him.
somebody to watch my kids.
Meow, meow.
Yeah.
Not. Yeah, not.
Just so you know, it's not gonna come out of your pocket. We're not gonna.
No, it's coming out. of school budget.
So we have the budget for it. So, just so you know, we do have a budget set aside.
And we have hardly used it, like in years past.
This is a small thing.
Yeah.
And it starts to teeter into the point, well. If we're not doing that. Here. I didn't think that. Having a board now. I'm all about, I understand. It's always how you can go over that. You need a constant. Education.
So, Chelsea has a new partner in crime. You want to talk about her a little bit? I know you don't have a mic, but, and what you would like to see today, what you're going to try to do? Yeah, Dan, you want to pass for mine? Oh.
Okay, so Tiffany Faust is our new assistant communications coordinator, and she has a background in branding and marketing. And she's really excited to start getting our message out in new and engaging ways for our community. And today she is hoping to meet with as many of you as possible, if time allows, to interview you and ask a few questions about what inspires you as a board member, what inspires you about our district and your goals, and just to kind of humanize you all a little bit for our community so they can get to know you better. So we're going to be kind of pulling you in as we can, as it makes sense after this meeting and before the 6 p.m. meeting. Once you're done with dinner, of
Where are
course.
you located?
We are, so your dinner is in the PDC, and we set up right across the way in the STEAM team room. So we can, we'll pull you, we'll show you. But yeah.
Where is this gonna show up?
Yeah, and we would use it on social media and our website, and you'll have an opportunity to take a look at it before it goes out and make sure that everybody's comfortable. And I'm, it's pro bono. I wasn't able. It's a video of it. It's an interview. Yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't a, well, I mean, I'll try, but we weren't able to arrange. Yeah, hair and makeup today, but maybe next time. So, yeah, does anybody have any questions? Sorry.
Thank you, Chelsea. That was awesome.
And Tiffany, by the way, just as FYI for the board, is paid, is our employee paid through the ESD. So the funding for Tiffany's position comes through the ESD, but is our employee. So way to go.
Great.
Nice job.
Who's our employee?
Yes.
I
she
mean,
is.
we can
Yep.
make sure she does, presents us beautifully.
Yep. So, and she's been great so far, and it's been a great hire. So,
Yeah.
Madam Chairman, take it away. Okay. All right. Well, good to see everybody. I like to go through a couple of things. These are just things to keep the board informed on and have some discussion on. And if you would allow me to spend just a few minutes, I want to talk about something that that probably precedes as a lever some of the items we want to kind of take a few minutes discussing today. Don Clifton was known as kind of the designer of strength-based psychology. And Clifton said this: a leader needs to know his or her strengths as a carpenter knows their tools, or as a physician knows the instruments at their disposal. What great leaders have in common is that each truly knows his or her strengths, and you can call on the right strength at the right time. I think that's really, really important as we talk about some of the things we're going to discuss moving forward. I wanted to share with you really briefly before we jump into some of these items, a very fascinating Gallup poll that came out in February of this year. The Gallup poll was administered in 52 different countries that ranged really all over, from sub-Saharan Africa to the Middle East to North America. And there were like 72,000 participants. And the premise of this is it was a leadership focus, but the premise of it is they call them followers, which don't necessarily love in the Gallup poll. But the premise is that to lead, we need to understand the needs of those we lead. The board has, in your leadership role, which has already been identified as really one of the most important roles in a community, you have lots of constituents. You're leading students, you're leading parents, you're leading the community, you're leading the district. So this will hopefully be appropriate and applicable. The question that was asked, there were two questions asked in this poll, and the first one was for people to identify a leader. They ranged. There's I can show you later some of the graphs, but it could be a leader who's had a positive impact in your daily life. Could be a family member, could be a religious leader, could be a politician. There were celebrities and other folks that were actually listed in this. It was totally open-ended. The next question was to open-endedly, they asked, would you list 3 words that describe what this leader contributes to your everyday life? I want to show you the results of this, but it was really, really fascinating. I think before we talk about some of the things coming up, it's really worth thinking about. These were the top things listed. And actually, by a long shot, the first one was hope. The first one was listed was hope, but not how oftentimes we may think of hope. It wasn't just about feeling positive that things will go better, but it was that they felt positive about the future and that the leaders were providing a clear direction. So the hope isn't kind of that what we call spray and pray model, which is I'm just going to spray it out there and hope something sticks. It's a plan that people know where we're going. So that was number one thing. The second one was trust, as you can read. The third one was compassion, and the fourth one was stability. Napoleon said this, and he was right, maybe, that a leader is a dealer in hope, as Napoleon said. And I think that was kind of one of the prefaces of this. So I wanted to share a couple things real fast, and we'll jump into the items here. But what was really interesting is that the collective numbers here were this. Hope ranked 56% of people as their number one item had put hope, actually. And second was trust. Third was compassion, and fourth was stability. And you can see some of the numbers there. If you look at this by title, and this is again, these were totally open-ended. These are not in the order in which they were most selected. So if a family member ranked the highest, I can send the report later, but this is how it ranked by leader types. This is how it ranked in this one by people across many different regions, and the cultural significance of this is actually is very significant, because you're really talking about some different political and social, religious context across these countries here. And you can see how hope and trust, compassion and stability were almost undefinably the same, no matter where you are. That was really interesting. Another one that was interesting to me in the report, that was this one, and that is that if you looked at just the two leading ones of hope and trust, you can actually see that this is by age on the horizontal axis, that although they're similar, that the younger respondents valued hope collectively a little bit more. And for more seasoned, experienced individuals, as you move up in the age category, trust became a little bit of a higher rate for them. Interesting. There's probably reasons for that. I guess the thing that I would say is I've been wondering about this. I work with our leadership team on this earlier in the month about what the implication of this is for them. And I would want you just do some thinking about what is the implication of this poll. And this is kind of just a very much a Reader's Digest version, but be thinking about what implication this might have for you as board members. What does this implication have for us as a school district, for our kids, for our staff members, for our community? If these are really the areas in which people in 2025 say, we have to have these things, this is a demand of people we trust, if you will. We should be thinking as a board, as a superintendent, as a school district, how are we building hope? Do we have a clear plan so people can feel positive about the future and the direction we're going? Or do people feel like they're respected, that we act with integrity, that we're honest? Do they feel that they're seen and heard, that they're listened to, they're cared about? Do they feel that sense of compassion? And, are we providing mechanisms for stability that people see, like, we're going to be, this is about psychological safety and secure foundations in uncertain times but do they see us as a force of stability, a constant? So they're interesting things to think about. And I think they're interesting in the context of a couple of things we want to talk about here today. So any thoughts about that from board members? Does this come as a surprise to anybody? It's interesting to me. I think I was actually very surprised how in step this was across respondents, across countries. That was fascinating to me, actually. And again, this were just a couple of points from the Gallup poll, and I can send that to you. All right, let's fast forward here a little bit. So I want to talk first of all about the bond. And we're not making decisions tonight, but I do want to share with the board the results from the election in May. There were 13 school districts, and that includes community college as well, that went out for a bond. 10 of those were successful, and 3 of those were not successful. The one in this graphic, they were too close to call, Mount Hood Community College and Morrill County in Eastern Oregon, Northeast Oregon. The rest of the bonds did pass. There was an operating levy. Not all were school bonds. There was an operating levy. One of the most interesting ones was an operating levy. It was Crow Applegate, which is outside Elmira, which is outside Eugene, small district, and they it was $1.50 per thousand, raises $2 million a year for that small district.
invoke that one as, we're gonna close unless you do something?
It,
Was
it,
it presented in that way?
it wasn't. Crappogate had passed a levy previously. They have, effectively they have one school building. It's a beautiful building, actually, on Territorial Road outside Eugene. This was an operating levy, so this was not a capital improvement, but provides more funding for operations. I don't know specifically if it was class size or what, if it was CTE related or what it was. But their building is in overall relatively good shape as far as I can see when I've passed it before. So that's just a kind of the state of the state relative to district bonds and local option levies as of May 25. A couple were pretty notable. Portland Public passed a $1.8 billion bond. That's coming on the heels of a $1.1 billion bond as well. They also passed an operating levy, I believe, to pay for a contract that was settled after the strike. Tiger Tualatin passed a large bond as well. But you also see a rural small school district. Sheridan School District is a very, very rural school district. Did you? Yeah. And that was close, but it did pass, and that was a $6 million bond. And then, notably in terms of like about our same size, Lincoln County on the coast passed a $73 million bond. And hadn't passed a bond for quite a while before that. So they had kind of in a similar situation of very aging infrastructure, and that passed, in a coastal community. And the coastal communities, Tillamook passed as well. So that's that. So just a couple questions that have been on my mind. They're in the packet there, but I've been wondering about, for the board, and happy to entertain some discussion here with the board. I probably don't need to read these to you, but I think, what are the conditions that signals the community is ready for a bond? I know we've talked, the board has been very interested in improvements to our facilities. I think the board understands the strong link between school facilities and community vitality and ongoing community success and student success. So we're not obviously talking about making a motion today or anything, but I want to put that out there as one of the things I know the board wants to continue to talk about. It's been mentioned tonight a few times. So anything relative to whether it's the May 25 election or just thoughts about improvements that need to be made moving forward.
What in the bonds of how were they structured?
Yeah.
I mean, were they a catch-all type of year, or were they focused on certain things? That would be important.
So capital improvement bonds for the bonds have to be spent on capital improvements. Now, I could do a little digging in, Mike, and reach to superintendents. What's that? Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I could see, was it new construction? Is it improvements in existing? What's that? Yeah, we've passed one in 40 years. Yeah. And that was, but for the ones that passed, well, let me dig into that a little bit and get specifically. Every school district is kind of eclectic in its own nature, but I would be interested in, and we've been talking to some people around some bonds. CTE wins, safety wins, and I think it depends on your area. Tiger Tualatin is going to have a number of new building. I mean, they can do some new construction. But I think a lot of the ones what you'll see that you saw on that list are going to be retrofits in terms of that. But I'll do a little bit of digging in and see what I can find for you. There questions, thoughts?
Discussion was the other day about the importance of needing to do a time study, but if we were to do any kind of time changes right now, would not be conducive to a bond, but yet we really need to study time.
Yeah.
So it's a timing issue, no pun intended.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a district time audit I really was hoping to get done. I will say this, I think if the board has an interest in the next, year to 18 months on moving forward on a bond issue, I don't know that the time audit, running the two at the same time, it could be challenging. But we can talk about the time audit in a minute. So, yeah. Any other thoughts just about the bond moving forward? I know I've talked to several board members. I think it's a continued, I know it remains a priority for the board collectively. We've made many improvements, but we continue to spend dollars on buildings that it's questionable whether those are good return on investment measures. So, okay, let's move on to the time audit. Um, the uh, the economy of time is interesting. Time is an asset that we have to maximize. We look for efficiencies all the time in lots of the work. One of our main, one of our 4 pillars in the strat plan is around operational efficiency. And we continue to look for areas in which we need to be more efficient and ask questions about time. Time is an asset that we all know can be elusive. We have to maximize time. And the board's work isn't in the system, it's on the system. And one of the things that's been on my mind is about a time audit, to really take a look at everything from how we, could be start times, end times, professional learning time. We could ask questions about, we have a standard calendar. Why do we still have an agrarian calendar? We can probably go as wide as we want to with some community work. It should be mentioned that time audits and potential changes to time also elicit panic by people that are struggling to find childcare, people, employers who need, these could have major shifts in just mentioning a time audit gets people a little bit nervous about the impacts of that. It's probably worth mentioning too. We have, when you run in a rural district, bus routes of an hour, when you start thinking about changing start times potentially or considering that, that can have impacts on how early you have young kids, for example, out waiting for a bus when it's dark and all sorts of things. So I think I would want to know if the board is interested in considering a time audit. A time audit, the decisions on a time audit would need to involve the board's approval on some things. So once you start the process of an audit, you're kind of committing to make some hard decisions. And it could be that the decision is everything is as good as we can get it. There'll be some people unhappy with whatever. When you open up a question of can we do better on time, I'll give you one example of 100. The research on high school start times is very, very clear, actually, from a variety of sources. High school students get insufficient sleep. I actually have one at my house now and can attest to the fact that they don't sleep enough. An early start time for a high school is probably not the best thing for the wellness of a kid. So we know that, but changing that time also comes with different complications. So I would be interested in a time audit. It would involve obviously the board, but it would involve the staff and the community and businesses and eliciting a whole bunch of information that we would try to distill and disseminate and make some decisions on. Should we take a look at a different, fill the blank in? It could be as wide as we want to go. Let's think out of the box. You have to narrow that down to reality. But that's something I would be interested in and want the board to think through what that could look like. Or if you're interested in
My question comes though with the new medical pathway at UCC, because that in itself is a huge undertaking.
Yep.
With schedules and transportation. It seems like it would be very difficult to manage that plus a time study at the same time. I mean, it's like too much at once.
Yeah.
Question.
The UCC pathway would actually be a really good time to do the time audit to figure out how you could schedule for the fall of 27 students attending class there. So I think that would be part of the audit would be figuring out what that could look like.
Yeah, but honestly, just thinking out loud, it's, I know it's needed. So I struggle with 2 things. One of them as far as high school students going to work early. Part of me says, well, you know what, real world is you've got to get up, set the alarm, and you got to go to work. or when you get to college. I mean, it's not necessarily what's comfortable for them, although I do agree they do need more sleep. But the other thing is just we really need a bond, an operating levy, something, and we need that sooner than later. And I'm afraid that time audit would just scare people, or if we make the decision and change things, that it just will not go well. I don't know. That was just my thoughts.
I mean, I didn't know that this was coming to the forefront yet, or I know we just barely talked about it, it seemed like. Is there a reason, why it's here right now to deal with? Is it gonna save us money, or is it,
Yeah.
what's the driving force
No.
to do that other than attendance? I mean, I think attendance for high school is probably going to be affected. It's early for me. I look at 7:45 being in class. That's not gonna happen, because
Yeah.
I'm a night owl too, so I don't know. I just wondered
Yeah.
what's the press to
Well,
take care of this now?
I think what I've been considering is a process like this takes about a year to do. It's not, we can't just make a decision about a change of schedule for families. It takes examination. It takes some time. It takes getting input and meeting and developing, kind of narrowing some things down, working with transportation, working with families and that kind of thing. So, one of the things I talk about with my staff often is the premise of reciprocal accountability. If I'm not going to ask you to do things I don't support. So if we look at like professional learning, I'll just take that as an example, right? We are demanding of staff more. They have a lot to do. And I look at like the hour a week, for example, is not sufficient. It's not sufficient to sustain learning. You can present things, but you can't really apply them, right? So the whole premise of this is, does our current schedule, like the way, and some of this is historical, like how do we get to this calendar? How do we get to these start times? It's a chance to look and say, does that meet what we want, what our strategic priorities are? If our strategic priorities are about care, support, instruction, and graduation with a pathway, we probably need to take a look and just say, like, I don't know, is what we're doing, is this the best way to do that? But I would just say that, like, when we commit to do it, it was going to be uncomfortable because it does change. It's as much as you try to control the narrative of like, maybe nothing changes, we're just examining how this is working. Because parents again are worried about childcare, worried about start times, and you've got athletics and activities but it's been on my mind. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the reason why we haven't discussed this, we haven't had a board that's had balls enough to, sorry, I shouldn't have said that, but enough guts to look into it. I don't think we need to reinvent. I know I did not have pepperoni pizza, but sorry, Kate. I don't think we need to reinvent the clock. There are districts in the state that just recently have done this, and I'd like to get some information from them. I mean, that's not us spending time. That's getting information from them. What's the positive and the negatives that changing high school time what has it done? That's what I'd like to see. I also caution you, all of us, that we have a lot of competition out there now. And whatever side of the fence you're on with non-public education, there's a lot of competition out there. And we know with this, the education is rapidly changing. The Supreme Court gave Trump, they can continue to change the Department of Education. You've got the big, beautiful bill that passed where there's money in there for parents to to not go to a public school or go to another school. We need to look we need to be doing things like this and looking at it and get this stuff done before it's too late. And I don't know if changing the time is the right thing to do, but there's information out there in the state that we should be looking at. And we can chew gum and walk at the same time, for crying out loud. You know, and I think we should move forward, work in the background, just see, you know, there's no reason to do it, to do it, let's say, I don't know if Eugene's done it or not, but I'm just, you know, using Eugene as Eugene. If there's no reason to do it if it hasn't worked for them, but if it's been amazing, then you need to look at it. And it's always come back to, well, transportation. We always have an excuse. Transportation. There's ways of getting things done. You know,
So,
and there's hope. I have hope. I mean,
so
that we can do it.
when we're talking about changing time, how much? I mean, 7:45 to 8:45, 7:45 to 9:45. I mean, is it a big? Are we talking a big hourly difference?
Well, I think the premise of a time audit is actually just to look at how we're just not just start times, but it's to take a look at everything from professional learning to our calendar to you have Texas is an interesting example. Several districts started to move to 4-day weeks in Texas, and now districts are moving to 4-day weeks all over the place. Really, it's a staffing issue. And so I think if we just looked in general around our current structure that we kind of embrace as the norm and just said, what if the status quo we just looked at and just evaluated and said, maybe this isn't the best way to do things? Could be start times, could be professional learning times, could be our calendar. But I think again, I look at this as, is the system we've built, we've changed the district has said, you've changed some of your priorities. The district has come up with some different priorities. And so the question is the system helping and contributing to those priorities? So start times could be one of the issues we took a look at, but yeah, we're probably not talking about a 10 o'clock start time somewhere.
So what would be the harm of doing that? I mean, why wouldn't we do this?
Yeah.
Just to see where we're at and where we could be. I mean, and whether we do it now or later, I mean.
Yeah.
Is it going to be that? Is it going to be real expensive? Is that what we're talking big bucks that is going to cost us?
Yeah, I think that I would discourage us from doing is to make I think there's always safety in a process for everybody where you just have a process you line out. There, you would hear the high school, for example, I think it's been talked about before. You get into issues with, after school activities, athletics, work, students have things going on. I think you just need a longer runway to just spend time examining. And, but I do think maybe to Rod's point, you can do both. I think to Andrew's point, you have to be cautious about, maybe too many things at one time. But it is something I think we should consider. I think the board should be part at the table in the discussions around what do we see, and we can absolutely be asking other people about this. Have they seen improvements from these shifts and changes? And there's some national research on some of these as well. I don't know there's any cost to any of this. It would not be about saving money. It's not about trying to squeeze more juice out of the lemon and make people work harder. It's not about saving money. It's just about maybe reorganizing what our current structure is. We have some responsibilities in terms of instructional hours with the state. There's those minimums are still there. We have to, meet those for Division 22, but there's quite a bit of flexibility a school district has. And it could be something as simple as like, you know what? I saw this in a district recently. We're going to take the whole week of Thanksgiving off because it was better for families and you're adding days later in the year. Or so it's more of examining what we currently do and questioning, is that the best way or is there a better way to do that?
So what inspired us for this?
This is me bringing this to you.
So.
Yeah.
Have you seen studies in other
Mm-hmm.
districts?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you saw something promising
Mhm.
in another district.
Many
but
districts
we
across
need
the
to
country.
do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. We did.
There's also issues too with, teachers are needing more planning
Mm.
time. This is another issue
Yep.
and, we do have a early release, one day a week to try to give them that time, but so there are other issues as well that are tied into this.
Yeah. I would say the UCC thing is also something I'll talk about that next, but we're having to braid like two ecosystems of time with those. So, we have a 7-period day at the high school. They have a Monday, Wednesday, Friday day. The time audit could be beneficial in terms of the UCC planning in a way to make sure we can, they don't have a Wednesday early release. So there's some work we have to do as we prep for the fall of 27 for that. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't understand why we wouldn't do this. I
Mm.
mean, it sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
You've done some research and finding that there's a benefit there.
Yep.
I don't see any negative. If there's a negative here, then let me know, but I don't see that.
It will be quite disruptive to many people in the community. And they will,
To make the change, but not
Yeah.
the audit.
I think it's just doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the audit, yeah, I agree with
but
that.
even the audit will create a fair amount of anxiety.
Yeah.
And you'll hear about it. I promise you'll hear about
Oh,
it.
yeah. Staff will be like what, again, you have to have a good process for it. Otherwise, if the process isn't clear, people fill the blanks in if it's not clear. And you start to wonder about, is this because we have negotiations coming up? Is this because the district's in trouble financially? Is it because, people don't think I'm doing a good enough job? Is this because you want to give us more time? Or we want to be very clear. It's what I foresee here is just, let's take some time. I haven't done this since we've been here. What if we took a time just to take a look at what do we currently have? Does everyone even know that? And
What if
you're,
we did it and say, it's been brought to our attention that student success has improved or whatever the positive attributes are of doing a switch because of, by age. What if we do a preemptive communication saying we're doing our due diligence to review, do a time audit in our district, of the benefit of the students.
yeah, you mean internally or externally?
Next.
Externally? Yeah, we definitely want to get I want to invite parents in this discussion to participate somehow. And yeah.
Then you can, without making any changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gremlins come out.
I would say though, to Jared's point, that process has to really be thought out ahead of time.
So much.
So the whole thing, even though maybe we're presenting that, this is what we're gonna do, we know that these are the steps, A, B, C, D, all the way through, because we have to trust the process as we get further into it. And that knowing that what the process is can be very comforting to someone who's listening to it, who feels threatened that their life is going to change, to know that, okay, they're doing this process and looking at it.
Yeah.
My initial reaction is, I don't want to disrupt the cadence and the flow of what's happening right now. But the second that you start saying, I've looked at other districts, certain age groups perform better, learn better at certain times, then I'm going into the mental space of, this is what's best for our students, this is what's best for kids, this is giving them a better opportunity to learn in a more cohesive environment than biological.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then it's duty, responsibility, due diligence. You have to actually go through the process of reviewing what's best for our kids. And if people outside of our organization have an issue with that, I don't care.
When the UCC thing happens
Mhm.
with the medical, we're gonna have to change some schedules, right? That's gonna force us to do that anyway. If that happens, I gotta still
Yeah.
find out more
Yeah.
in a minute, but
Yeah.
so do we have a choice not to look into this if UCC happens?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for that cohort of students, their schedules will look different because they're probably going to spend half their day at the college.
It'll be a small,
Yeah.
small group.
Yeah, well,
Will affect the rest of the school.
it's going to impact, yeah, it'll impact quite a few kids. Yeah.
That's gonna
Yeah.
take.
I just wonder, Jared, do you have time to do this? This is a massive,
My times are relevant with this. Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand. Who would do this? And how, I think, like you said, somehow we've got to see what the parents think.
Yeah, of course.
And you know, that there's a whole
Yeah.
lot of pieces
Yeah.
to this. Do we have time?
Yes, we could pull it off.
Do your staff can do it?
Mhm.
And you think it will?
I know they can.
If you think that it will affect enough positive, then, and you feel like you have the time and the staff to be able to do this, you know, I don't see any harm in,
Okay.
in going forward.
It's being posted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
We've already exchanged.
Yeah.
Considering
Yeah.
stuff.
So I think the one thing, the one thing I just mentioned, and this is a pretty bad example, but I'm hearkening back to a very different discussion, but it was the mascot discussion. And not to the two, I know, but it has a little bit of a thread of this. It's very, very different contextually. But what happened there was that there was a question about the mascot that came up. Like, should we discuss this? And there were a few of us that were here that were like, had questions about whether the timing was right. We got into a deep mascot discussion with the community right in the middle of a pandemic. And the question the community kept asking was like, really? Now is the time you're discussing this. There's a worldwide pandemic and you're talking about a mascot. And it was a challenging, actually a pretty challenging time. If you weren't here there, believe me, it was a challenging community time. There were robust discussions. It also was one of those things where I think the board at one point said, like, why do we have to render a decision about this? And so it's a very different topic, but I think we should be honest about the fact that some of the same threads could be there. If we have some significant priorities to improve the district, say on a capital side, and if this is a deterrent, some people might be asking, like, why are you doing this now if this is your priority? We should think about that. Additionally, I think we have to, if we're going to move forward with this in a way that really, really involves the governance of the board, which it should, then there needs to be some agreement. We either need to have a process that's less dabble and think about it, or we have to lean in and be like, okay, we're going to kind of hit this thing head on. And that could be uncomfortable for everybody involved. And I will say, just mentioning doing it, if nothing changes, there'll be people that might be upset. And so you're committing to a little bit of discomfort. And I'll go back to something Brene Brown said several times. You can't be courageous and comfortable at the same time. It's not possible. I'm positive, actually. From her research, I'm actually pretty positive. So I think it's a question I just want us to think about. If it's a priority for you, I think there's value in doing it. To Rod's point, we probably could do multiple things at one time. To Steve's point, has there been benefits in our district? Yes. Andy Hargraves, though, says this: ripe fruit rarely travels well, meaning you can't just take an idea from somewhere over here and say, I'm going to do the same thing and have it always work. So sometimes it really has to be your own data. So something to think through. So it's been on my mind. I put that up just for the board. It's just a work session, just to kind of rumble with a little bit. One of the things we can't control is time. There's only so much of it. The economy of time is really elusive. And if there can be better ways to meet the needs of kids in your strategic priorities, I think we probably should look at that. All right. Let's see, UCC partnership. I want to give you an update on this.
I don't like that logo.
Yeah, you don't, huh? Okay. Well,
They need to change.
so we have been waiting for the development. So is just a reminder, the board approved a memorandum of understanding to move forward on this project with the college. the board appropriated, approved the appropriation of $2 million in this fiscal year for the construction of the Advanced Medical Pathway Building, RHS Advanced Medical Pathway Building. The college really needs an intergovernment agreement, or an IGA, for them to move forward in this process, and that is currently under development. And so that's something I'll be sharing with you, both boards. Their board really wants that to be the mechanism. Our board felt like the MOU was the right mechanism. I think you'll see some of the Venn diagram with some of those same aspects in the MOU with that. And so we've been working, Dr. Pokrant, myself, and our legal counsel have been slowly chipping away at getting this to both boards for consideration. I am anticipating a really successful launch with the college, particularly around radiology tech and surge tech in this new facility. They are on track to break ground in August, and we are hopeful that we will see the first high school campus on college or university property in Oregon with this project. I'm anticipating our first group of students that will be there will be juniors in the fall of 27. They'll do their 2 years at the college, likely half day with credits back at the high school, still participating in prom and homecoming and athletics and activities, still being high school students, taking college courses. We have lots of kids doing both. These will be direct pathways right into an industry where they will have jobs waiting for them. I was at a meeting at the hospital a few weeks ago. The 50 students out of the nursing program that are from Douglas County, 38 were hired by Mercy Hospital. And so this isn't just ideological. The pathway is directly into a job waiting for a student. Brandon, and there's still plenty of nursing jobs available. To give you an idea how this likely will work with, let's just pick on radiology tech for a minute. We anticipate there's still some things we're working through on with our high school diploma and requirements and dual credit and all the things we're working with the college. It's complex, but we anticipate students, juniors enrolling in, say, the rad tech program or radiology tech program that would do their 2 years of programming at the college with dual credit being one of the key mechanisms there on both ends, both RHS side and UCC side, or potentially 6 months to 9 months, maybe 12, but likely under that, a student would graduate from us, be fully enrolled in the college and finish their radiology tech program. And, the industry right now, I mean, those jobs are conservatively, you probably know as well as I do, but they're $70,000 to $80,000 a year starting jobs. There's a number of our partners that are interested in surge tech and rad tech. So really amazing opportunities. We're not totally ready to go yet. Needs this IGA is kind of one of the last hurdles. So we'll keep you in the loop on that. All right. Just a couple other quick things here. I sent some information to you recently. Here I am, Mike, talking about a long process of a year. And then let me move to this where we didn't take a year to do it. We literally took like 3 weeks to do it. I want to commend our staff. We're working with our parents. They've been fantastic, but we are shifting our model around student services. And it's been a wholesale redesign. And it happened relatively quickly. I sent some information out with a little more context, but it's slow because it's slow. It's slow because it kind of has to be slow a little bit, because by the time you get the right information on students, it is slow. But we do have a new model, and I really feel strongly we will see stronger outcomes for students. This is a really improved model for our students to be in their home school, to have access to core instruction. It's been well received by the majority of our parents. We do have a few parents that still would like to stay in their current school. We're kind of working through that. Personal phone calls have been made by Melissa and her team. There are 73 students that haven't been able to attend their home school because they're in a program somewhere that will now be able to attend their home school. They haven't been able to attend with their siblings, for example. If they need support that day, we have parents that don't have cars and can't drive. They can't meet their students. What we'll see is students that have more access to general ed, students that still have a learning support center, and students in every building now that will have a specialized program. As a reminder, the two programs we didn't kind of undo are the Profound DLC at Fir Grove and the Complex Needs Classroom at Fir Grove. That's a district program, the Profound DLC, and then we have a county program, the Complex Needs program at Fir Grove with some medically fragile kids and kids that have some specific medical needs. So I'm looking forward this year to giving you updates on how this is having a positive impact. It will not be perfect. It will not be completely dialed in this year. It's a huge shift in terms of it's a huge shift for all of our staff, by the way. And so it's not, we're working toward having it really have a strong start. I'm confident we'll see positive things in the first year, but we have to be trending in the right direction. That's the expectation. Okay, I've got two more things for you real quick. So this is the last year of our strat plan. We adopted the strat plan. It ran through the end of 25. And so I really want to commend the board for your work in the strat plan. It has been an anchor document for us. As a superintendent, I use the strat plan every day in my planning and my expectations and my kind of evaluations of people and evaluations, most importantly, in my work. And as we think about the strat plan, if we put that on pause for just a second, you probably saw the new logo and we have some new maxims. The maxims are up here: inspiring growth, building community, expanding opportunities. We have a number of patrons that don't know what we do. They don't have any connection to the school, and they're not sure exactly what happens in our schools. We think it's important. I think it's important to have some maxims in terms of these are the things that we do in our schools. People don't always want the depth of complexity. It seems like society doesn't want a lot of complexity. People like some short, succinct messages. And I think it's important to be able to say, here's some things we do. We'll be rolling these out over the course of the year. And I think as we roll these out and we see how this is working, I would have the board consider thinking about how those could show up potentially as we think about a strat plan. Maybe there are in the future things that we find value in. So one thing that we probably also want to think about an audit on, I would encourage us to be thinking about auditing our strat plan this year. Maybe work sessions, we can be taking components of that, like how are we doing in appropriate type of instruction? Let's give a report to the board. Let's have a work session about that. Is that something we're doing pretty well? Is that an area we need to make improvements to? So as we start thinking about our next turn, our next bend, our next strat plan, we probably want to take a look and just say, how have we done in the area of safe and inclusive and leadership development and those things? So we've got some opportunities there. All right, last one. I don't know if I sent this, I think I sent this out to the board. We kind of had an interesting thing happen here with the cell phone policy. To give you a little bit of background on this, I don't want to say too much. The governor, so there was a cell phone bill that died in session. So the last day of the session was happened recently, and there was a cell phone policy, there was a bill, a legislative concept, it's been there for a little while, that was in the amendment phase, and it died out of one of the chambers, and as happens, and I don't think there were some people that I think in the governor's office that were maybe wanted to see that become law, and it didn't make it on its way to becoming a bill. And the governor enacted an executive order around a cell phone policy. And she directed school boards and superintendents to adopt a policy by the end of October with implementation by January 1 of 26. And the order is pretty prescriptive, by the way. So, yeah.
My concern is implementing a program or a policy in the middle of the year
Yes,
is extremely difficult.
it is extremely difficult.
If you're gonna do it, do it. Don't Don't wait.
It,
And if we're required to do it at the beginning.
right. So we do have, a policy and procedures around cell phone use. It doesn't exactly align with this, but we do need to get going because to your point, Dr. Bishop, appreciate that. Kids don't really work on a January 1 schedule when you shift things mid-year. Our policy is actually aligns pretty closely to what is being expected, but I don't really have an interest in checking people's phones in every day or auditing who has an Apple Watch, just to be real frank. I think that's a parent responsibility and not a responsibility of the schools, but this bill contradicts that a little bit. So ours for the most part is off and away. So look, guys, when we're in class, it's gotta be off and away. Although I still say sometimes staff is using cell phones. I mean, I can think of one class as a resource and
I mean, give an example.
Yep.
I have a kid who's type 1 diabetic.
Yep.
His phone is used to communicate. I actually just checked
Yep.
his glucose.
Yep.
He's out camping.
yes,
You know, and there's going to be exceptions.
Yes.
And those are always an issue. And
Yep.
he hates when it goes off because he hates attention.
Yeah.
But I mean, these things.
Yep.
It will be an issue.
So there are exceptions in the executive order around, safety issues, although the way parents perceive safety issues are sometimes the phone is a safety issue for a parent. And so we have to be thoughtful. It's the board's work on the policy side. And so we can work together to help, but this is your role on the policy side. So to your point, Steve, Dr. Hammerson, ours is basically off and away during class. This bill says that there is no cell phones all day, not during passing times, not during lunch. In fact, there was an initial thing about buses, but that kind of came off. There was an initial thing that a watch wouldn't count. Now it counts because you had to be able to receive text and send text and also have cell coverage, and most don't. I think, again, like most of these policies, there's a really good way to do it and there's a poor way to do it. And I would just encourage us to be cautious about this way this happened because sometimes these executive orders don't come with, our patrons didn't get a choice in this always. And so we have to be thoughtful about adopting a policy that is sensible. Makes sense. Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say, is because, Trump's done all kinds of executives that are not being followed. So, I mean, what, an executive order is an executive order, it's not law. So, I mean, I don't know where this conversation needs to take place.
Yeah.
But I personally agreeing with, abiding by this executive order is ridiculous. I don't think we should. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
I don't like the bell. I don't like the bell to bell thing. I don't like that the kids can't have it on their lunch, period. But I don't have, I could be different. I hated it in the workplace, but we need to tailor it for what works for us, bottom line. And what we're doing, I think, is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I disagree, Steve. I think I don't like the way it came about, and that's my biggest issue. I don't love I don't love executive orders. That's my own personal issue on any side of the aisle. I think the legislative process is important. But I do think having cell phones out of the classroom is an extremely good thing. And I mean, I've read enough books, and I mean, I can recommend some really good books on that if you're honestly interested in it. But I think it is a good thing to not have cell phones in the classroom.
Yeah, I just, there isn't a study you'll be able to show me, where you're telling a parent, I'm forcing your child to not be able to have their phone on them. That's just not, it's not. I'm the same way with the masks. You're not gonna force anybody to wear a mask. That's the way I am, sorry. We're not forcing people to be separated from items. We're not forcing people to mask up. I'm not forcing people to do anything.
How is the current policy working for us up and away?
Pretty well, actually. I mean, I think for the most part, we do pretty well on this. I mean, the policy really is like, hey guys, we got work to get done. Let's go. I mean, if you think about students like an employer, they're paying themselves, right? As they're learning, right? For the most part, it's been really, really well. I think it's gone pretty well. We actually had a change in the middle schools where they didn't allow cell phones at lunch, and actually the kids did really well in the middle schools. Like, in fact, the kids have said this has been great because they were like this. Again, middle school is not elementary school, it's not high school, but I do think it just takes, we want to make sure we're communicating. Actually, Chelsea and I work on some communication for parents and internally for staff. It's just something when these kind of issues happen that you're mandated on a policy, we have to be thoughtful about all the implications. You have some parents nervous about their kids walking home and getting home safely. We've got a lot of kids that come home to nobody. We got kids who have issues on buses. We've got kids who are diabetic. And so I think we'll need to craft a policy that makes sense. But I think the off and away has been relatively effective for us. We're most of the way there. And I think a lot of the schools that have gone to a very, like, you're going to get here to the school and you check your phone in and it's not yours. If we would have had the swatting activity at RHS and parents couldn't get a hold of their kids, I can tell you right now, it would not have ended well. Like, we have to be thoughtful about the context in this community that's dealt with some significant issues around safety. So I guess the point there is we've been asked to have a policy adopted by October 31. I put that out there to say, let's be looking at this and what makes sense and think about the communication on that. Yeah, Keith.
First of all, I want to reinforce what Brandon pointed out, and that is there are young people that have to have a phone
Mhm.
for health reasons.
Yeah.
Especially type 1 diabetes.
Mhm.
And the governor's executive order, I have a copy of it. There's some exclusions, there's some other things, but what we also need to watch for, it assigns the monitoring to ODE, which means there's probably going to be administrative rules. And those could go way beyond what
Yep.
this says. The other thing is, in Oregon, this failed in a powerful Democratic legislature. It failed.
Yep.
And the governor signed an executive order. This is failed legislation. And that's really an odd way to go about this. And then finally the implementation of this is there needs to be some discretion, and we have to be careful, because I agree it's a really sensitive area and could be very offensive to families and citizens.
Correct. So
Just one comment on that. I think that as we're not going to draw a hard line on some of it, but I think we do need to curtail in class,
Mhm.
and there's got to be some way we can do that without being the hard line,
Yeah.
which the executive order seems to have
Yeah.
implied. And I think we can do that.
Yep.
I don't know if we use OSBAs, they're going to draft a policy
Yep.
and we're going to tweak it like we can legally and make it for us.
But the thing of it is, okay, so already our test scores are going up. I mean, we're trending in a good direction with our current cell phone policy. So that's
Yep.
a plus for us.
Yep. Yeah, I just want to put this out for the board so you're not, I mean, I know you're aware of it, but this really becomes board work around the policy development. And so we'll have to prioritize that with the policy committee to get the year started. And yeah, and we'll have to, we're meeting with leaders on the 5th because we can't wait for a policy mid-year. And so I'm seeing which has been my frustration with some of the way this happened, but kids don't work on January 1 shift. So I think we're going to continue with our off and away right now. We'll find some other ways to be off and away. So
I'm going to develop. I'm going to do it at McDonald's in the drive-thru. I'm going to develop a blocker in the classrooms that only kids that need it for medical reasons, that the blocker blocks. And if there's an emergency, it can be unlocked. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
Be great, but you'll have every kid, talking about they're anxious about their phone, and you'll have a lot of medical reasons for that, but
And often the way, say, student violates it, what
Mhm.
happens? I mean, they, you're in the middle of class and then the teacher said, put the phone away.
Yeah.
What does a teacher do in a situation like that?
Yeah, yeah. I can run that through. I can run through that with you later. But I mean, it's reminders to kids, reach out to families, and families have been really supportive of that. It's just that the phone means different things to different people these days. So, okay, thank you.